Everybody, welcome back to the stream. Wow, that was disastrous. Total disaster. Ouch. Get raided by TYT and stream explodes. So no, first I lost my connection to everything. So I was like, all right, well, why don't I just, pause everything, close down OBS. OBS started hanging. Because even though I had internet, my connections to all the different streaming things were not working. I know, so look at me using the technical language here. And so I was like, all right, well, I'll close down OBS. Nope, wouldn't close down. It was just hanging. And then I was like, all right, let me try to, close this down and then restart the computer maybe. And then the computer completely frozen, had to do a manual restart. Disastrous. Absolutely disastrous. And so, sorry about that.
There's insanity in the control room.
Do I have a task manager as a shortcut running in the background? No, I don't believe so. Anyway, disaster. Absolute disaster. But I want to finish the show for those of you who are back, because thank you for coming back. I do appreciate that. Ravaging Wolverine, I also appreciate you resubbing with Prime for a year. It's your yearversary. Appreciate that. Which looks a little unstable. That's what it's telling me. But as far as everything else is concerned, I've got green lights across the board. So, all right. Anyway. Let's go to the last couple of stories here. Hey, thank you for the bits, regular Mole Rat Dragon. I appreciate that. All right. A Fox News guest and former Trump administration official, Reince Priebus. Remember Reince Priebus, the guy who was going to put Baileys in his cereal because he was working in the Trump administration? Well, he's back. And he says the Democrats, the left hates cows.
I think one of the angles, and you kind of hit on it in the monologue, is that the Democrats want to create a socialist and welfare state. Biden and the Democrats actually probably don't think that they're making mistakes as much as we think. On the border, they want the United States to be the home of any person that wants to come here. On gas prices, they don't want us driving cars and guzzling gas. On beef, they think cows are the enemy of the American people. They think that they're bad for the environment. Saul Alinsky spelled it out. Remember we used to talk about this? He said to create a socialist state, you increase poverty, you increase people's dependence on government, you increase debt, and you increase taxes, and you create a welfare state where every person is dependent on all the free things that government gives them. They have created, and what they want to create, is a Soviet-style government state where people have to go vote to preserve everything that's free to them. This is what they want to do.
What? Wait, okay, hold on. There's a lot of nonsense in there. All right. Oh, they don't want us. I mean, they want to be the home of any person who wants to come here. Yeah, actually, yeah, we kind of do. Yeah, immigration actually makes this country stronger and better. Oh, great. Gas prices, though. Oh, they don't want us driving cars and guzzling gas. Well, actually, electric cars, they don't guzzle gas, and that's kind of the point. You think the cows are the enemy of the American people? No, here's the thing, right? I actually a lot of us love cows. Vegans love cows more than anybody. That's why they want to save the cows. For me, I like steak, I like hamburger, all that stuff. So that's absolutely ridiculous. So now, is it true that we want a welfare state? Actually, yes, kind of, yeah. Scandinavia, the countries where people are happier and actually score higher on the freedom index than the United States. Hell yeah, sign us up. Yeah, and that actually just means, I mean, imagine having your health care paid for by your taxes. Imagine having your money go to higher education. That enriches the country. How about having a higher standard of living and a government that spends tax money on you instead of corporations? I mean, that sounds awesome. How about more high quality public transportation? That's something that we don't have here in America, but they have in other countries. High quality public transportation. That way you don't need as many cars on the road. There's less congestion, there's less traffic. And it's actually easier and better to get around in the cities. That would be great. Yes, sure. Less reliance on fossil fuels, cleaner air. That sounds wonderful. What is bad about any of this? Then he's like, can you believe it? I can't believe that they think cows are the enemy of the people. So now the insanity he continues to bring up is Saul Alinsky. So now Saul Alinsky is somebody the right loves to bring up, loves to beat up, almost as much as Karl Marx. Okay? So now, on rules for radicals, right? And they always mention this, and they usually tie it to Clinton, and they usually tie it to Obama. Oh, the rules for radicals. Rules for radicals. Oh, my God, it's the Communist Playbook, manifesto. Nope, not at all. Everything that Priebus said about that, complete and utter nonsense. It's false. Alinsky actually didn't say anything like that. Alinsky basically talked about power tactics, how you can gain power. So he's got some rules. Now, conservatives, I know you all love rules, right? If you're a Republican, you absolutely love rules, unless it has to do with masks. But, rules for women and abortions, yes, they're all about that. When it comes to rules for masks and vaccination, no, they hate those. But when it comes to Jordan Peterson's 12 rules, well, they love those rules. Fantastic. So now, in Alinsky's writings, he says, rule 1, and he's got 11 different rules. I'll read just a couple, just to give you a glimpse of what he's talking about, if you haven't already read the book. He says, power is not only what you have, but what the enemy thinks you have. Okay? Never go outside the experience of your people. When an action is outside the experience of the people, the result is confusion, fear, and retreat. Okay? Rule 3, whenever possible, go outside the experience of the enemy. Here you want to cause confusion, fear, and retreat. The 4th rule is make an enemy live up to their own book of rules. You can kill them with this in a figurative way, not a literal way. It is almost impossible to counterattack ridicule. Also, it infuriates the opposition, who then react to your advantage. And so that's really it. I'm sorry. The 4th rule, actually, I had read the 5th rule. 4th rule is make an enemy live up to their own book of rules. So, for example, if you're debating a Christian or whatever, a so-called Christian conservative, they're like, well, like, for example, the issue on abortion, right? You realize the Bible is pro-abortion. That's an example of using their own book against them. Because the Bible does allow abortion. In fact, it doesn't say anything other than how to create a mixture to cause an abortion, the bitter water. Yeah. And so, and he says, Alinsky wrote, you can kill them with this, for they can no more obey their own rules than the Christian church can live up to Christianity. So none of that has anything to do with like, oh, create poverty and dependence on the state. No, there's nothing in there at all. That's just tactics for politics. And that's it. And about trying to gain power. I mean, and here's the thing about that, right? All we want is for our tax money. We pay our taxes, right? We want things in return for those taxes. That's it. You know, and the reason that the government is a good proxy for that is that instead of using the market for things like health insurance and education, we would use the government for it, because it basically, and the reason we use government is because it's public goods for that enrich the rest of society. The government has the ability to pull resources together and as well keep prices low. Now, the government itself is not a for-profit entity. It's supposed to speak on behalf of all of us to those companies, to those industries, and negotiate. That's why we want, for example, the government, Medicare, to negotiate drug prices with the pharmaceutical companies, because they would negotiate the prices down to a level of where more people could afford it, could afford that medication. And so that's what makes sense. Keeping some things in the realm of, you know, a public good, right? And other like, for example, public transportation, but also keeping private things in the private sector that make sense, like sneakers. I don't want to buy government sneakers, right? Or government shoes or government shirts or anything like that. No. So there is a difference here. What he's describing is just nonsense. Absolute nonsense. So now, again, it doesn't matter, though, because the right wing lies and lies and lies. In fact, this is the first time we've heard the lie that the left is coming after cow. AOC is going to come and kill your cow. What? Why would she do that? She wouldn't. Again, as I mentioned, there's a contingent on the left that are like, no, don't touch the cows. Don't touch the cows. Don't eat the cows. Don't do anything to the cows. We want to save the cows. And again, for me, yes, I'm a meat eater. Okay, I like steak, I like hamburger, but also I realize there's a lot of issues with our food chain. Factory farming, for example, the methods of agriculture, those are doing some serious harm to the environment. There's also, of course, the fact that we pump them full of these animals full of antibiotics, keep them in horrible, unsanitary conditions. So overall, no, we don't hate cows. We just want corporations to be more responsible and take better care of them and us and our planet. That's it. That's it. If that means cutting down on my personal consumption, that's a choice that I can make. And that sucks because you got to do what you got to do, right? That said, I don't think we're to that point, because at this point, 100 corporations are responsible for 70% of the emissions. Your personal choices, meatless Mondays, well, those are fine, great, but it's a literal drop in the ocean. And that's it. And so we got to take those corporations to task to reduce or eliminate their emissions. And so that's really the bigger fish to fry. Or if you don't like fish, you know, there's another way to do that. All right. One more thing. One more story for y'all. It's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene is raging after a Georgia judge shot down the possibility of an audit for the 2020 election in Fulton County. So now this is according to the Associated Press. Henry County Superior Court Chief Judge Brian Amaro ruled that the lawsuit that was launched by Trump supporters, claiming that, oh, there's voter fraud and that it invalidated our votes, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that lawsuit failed to allege a particularized injury, and therefore they had no standing to sue. So they threw out that lawsuit. That said, this is how Marjorie Taylor Greene reacted to the news on Steve Bannon's show. Take a look.
Absolutely devastating news for the Fulton County audit. The case has been dismissed for lack of standing, because they're saying that the plaintiffs could not establish that they had received injury. I want to say this right now, Steve. If wide open borders, a complete invasion at our border, the catastrophe in Afghanistan, arming the Taliban nation with $85 billion worth of our military equipment, abandoning Americans, you can't say that enough, killing 13 soldiers, rapidly rising inflation, and
no toys on the shelf, no food on the shelf,
none.
Taking all your discretionary income and paying home heating fuel. That's not damage.
That's not injury.
That's not injury.
What is injury?
What is injury? Well, good question. I'm glad you asked, Marjorie Taylor Greene. So now, injury, being serious, injury is defined by any harm done to a person by the acts or omissions of another. So it's very broadly defined, okay? Now, she is arguing that these 9 voters in Georgia were harmed personally because of the quote-unquote invasion at the border, which doesn't actually happen. It's not actually real. Leaving the Taliban equipment when we got out of Afghanistan, which, by the way, getting out of Afghanistan was a 100% right thing to do. And I had previously covered the reasons why this equipment was left back in Afghanistan right around the discussion of the pullout. And so the reason, of course, that they left all this equipment is because it wasn't worth bringing back. It was dilapidated. It was old. A lot of the stuff didn't work, or was just, again, not worth bringing back because it had been in service for many years, right? So a very long time. And so again, it would have actually cost more. It would have taken more time to get the equipment back out. And not only that, but they also weren't worried about the Taliban using it against us because, again, at that point, these vehicles and this equipment actually require a lot of maintenance. They require maintenance. They require a steady supply of fresh parts and technical know-how, none of which the Taliban actually possesses. Okay? And so it's going to, if it hasn't already, it will break down very shortly. You're not going to be seeing, Taliban soldiers riding around Humvees. Okay? They're already going back to their Toyota trucks. All right. So the whole argument from Marjorie Taylor Greene and the right wing about, we left all this equipment over for the Taliban and they're going to use it against us, not rooted in reality at all. At all. So that said, none of that constitutes, under the law, an injury to these 9 people. To any of the voters, Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? So now, I hate to break it to you. This is, according to federal law, legal actions cannot be brought simply on the ground that an individual or group is displeased with the government action or law, which is what this case is, basically. Turns out federal courts only have constitutional authority to resolve actual disputes, not like, I'm mad that my guy did not win. And we're just going to blame it on voter fraud, even though we have no evidence that voter fraud actually happened. In fact, in Lujan versus Defenders of Wildlife, this is a 1992 Supreme Court case, the court had actually created a 3-part test to determine whether a party has standing. The plaintiff must have suffered an injury in fact, meaning that the injury is of a legally protected interest, which is A, concrete and particularized, and B, actual or imminent. There also must be a causal connection between the injury and the conduct brought before the court, and it must be likely rather than speculative that a favorable decision by the court will address that injury. And of course, the court had found that basically this suit met none of those qualifications. None. In his dismissal, Amera wrote the plaintiffs allege their votes have been diluted due to the substantial likelihood that fraudulent ballots were introduced during the ballot processing for the general election. They also allege the issue will persist in future elections if not corrected. However, regardless of the veracity of these allegations, the court finds that petitioners have still failed to allege a particularized injury. Not only that, but this ruling comes one day after investigators found no evidence of ballot fraud in Georgia. And by the way, Georgia has done 3 audits of the 2020 election, including a hand recount, which produced no evidence of widespread fraud. There's just no evidence. None at all. No evidence, no standing, no case. Real simple. But no, Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to go on and she's going to just word salad.
And that is the direct results of election fraud. Everybody knows it. We need full forensic audits, and it is unforgivable that these things have not happened in Republican-run states. Absolutely unforgivable. Here's what we have to do, Steve. I'm going to tell you guys, here's what you have to do. People, you have had wonderful lives. We have been the most blessed nation in the history of the world. We've been the most blessed people. I mean, if you're a woman listening to this show, you know a washing machine is a blessing. A dishwasher is a blessing. A car is a blessing. All of our lives, television, radio, everything we have. Cell phones, these are blessings. We have got to stop being lazy. We have got to stop saying we're too busy. We have got to stop saying, oh, but we go to work. Let me tell you, I know what we all do. We go on vacations. We go and have wine with our girlfriends. We go hunting and fishing, and we have our hobbies. If we're able to have all these wonderful hobbies and these great lives, then we're able to take time out and hold Congress accountable. The people, there's 435 of them. That's not a lot of people when it's compared to all of you. We have to stop this unbelievable Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is the destruction of America. It's communism, and it's not just about electric vehicles. It's about socialist programs.
Okay. Well then, you know what's amazing? All of those words, all of that, and she still said basically nothing. And then it's like starts going into like, oh, I can't believe, washing machine, blessing, all this stuff, cell phone, absolute blessing. Yes. By the way, communism is coming. Yes, communism. Yes. Seriously though. Yeah. Oh yeah. The Green New Deal. It's not just electric cars, vehicles. It's communism on the side. Where do you start? I mean, that was probably the most dumb word salad I've ever seen. I mean, you know. Here's the thing, though. Having that stuff, yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have that stuff. Having please clothes is nice. Having a phone is nice. A cell phone, great. Yeah, having the internet is nice. Hey, why not make sure? And I got an idea here. Why don't we make sure? Why doesn't Marjorie Taylor Greene spend her time advocating for Americans to have higher wages so that we can all afford to have the bountiful blessings of the United States? Why don't we do that? That would be a great idea. Hey, all this stuff is wonderful. Let's make sure everyone can afford it. Boost wages. Raise the minimum wage. $20 an hour, 22, 23. And then everybody can afford a dishwasher or washing machine. But wouldn't that be great? No, of course not. You know why? She'd call that communism. So basically, oh, it's good for you, a blessing for me, but anybody else, no, you can't have it. You're communism. Communism. So I don't know where she was going with that, but that's ridiculous. The point is, though, if you do not have standing and you cannot prove injury, then you cannot sue. And that's what happened here. Your lack of knowledge on how the courts, the law, the Constitution actually works, I mean, it makes you look really stupid for one, and it also makes you incredibly ineffective, which of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene is literally going to be considered the most ineffective member of Congress. And already that's a super low bar. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, and it's because she doesn't do anything. She got kicked off all her committees because she's insane, and then goes and spends all of her time on Steve Bannon's podcast. And that's it. And by the way, about the lawsuits, right? So a couple of you were making some pretty good points in the chat. And, you know, is this considered a frivolous lawsuit? Because it seems like it. Now, I thought Republicans are against frivolous lawsuits. Oh, we need tort reform. We need tort reform. We need it bad. I remember Rick Santorum was like, oh, tort reform, tort reform, tort reform. We need tort reform. I mean, there was a rage like 5 years ago. All they could talk about is, oh, we need tort reform. Frivolous lawsuits. Bad, frivolous lawsuits. Oh, you're only against frivolous lawsuits when it involves big corporations and consumers getting hurt with faulty products or bad products or rushed products. But not when it comes to you and your ridiculous fantasies of overturning an election. Look, this isn't about facts. It's not about the law. It's about their feelings. Always about their feelings. They believe. I mean, they have to. They have to believe that 2020 was stolen because it's now considered part of their identity as a conservative, as a Republican. That just proves that this is no longer a political party, but just a cult. All right. A blessing to me would be to have job security. A blessing to me would be able to pursue your dreams and not be chastised for it. A blessing to me would be not to worry about whether to pay my electricity or medicine. No, all very, very good points. 100%. I agree with you, Moderator Scott. And thank you, by the way, Scott. I know you're going through some stuff, and I really appreciate you moderating my chat for me. I really thank you so much for offering your time to help me keep the chat clear for everybody else. Thank you. And I hope things get better. I do. Yeah, I completely agree with you as well. Excellent points. And thank you to all the mods. I appreciate it. Still need to find one for YouTube though. But anyway, that's it. That's all I got for y'all today. Sorry about the stream issues. Again, nothing I could really do a whole lot about. When YouTube and, you know, when software or whatever decides it wants to tank, very much you can do about it. So thank you for coming back, those who did. Auntie Sarah, thank you for gifting a Tier 1 community sub, by the way, on Twitch. I appreciate it. It helps me grow the show. All right. So, that said, I gotta go. Thank you all for spending time with me today. Please like and share the streams, both of them, I guess, even though they exploded. And check out the videos. I hope my recording isn't screwed up too bad, and I can make some vids out of it. So, all right. Thank you all. Love you. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. And again, thank you, Auntie Sarah, for subscribing with Prime. Bezos bucks. Appreciate that. Let's raid into someone else, by the way. Haven't done a KF Logan raid in a while, so I think we'll do that. See what he's up to.
Mike Pounds.
Who's got a hammer?
Please clap.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.